Eagle Talk fam.
What's up, guys? It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood.
Listening, and we are actually back in our neighborhood,
That's
taking it
right.
back old school, sitting in our living room to
I
record
like
this
it.
episode.
I like it.
So today we are going to dive into a topic that was actually sparked from a podcast that I listened to. And it's literally the way to get anything you want in life.
Yes.
But before we hop into it, you know, we always do ask the people, the Eagle Talk people, to go ahead and subscribe to the channel. And listen, in the podcast world, we are working so hard. We are at episode number
98.
This is 98. We're almost to 100, y'all.
The second thing is to like this episode.
Yes, like it and leave a review. Like, leave a 5-star review, because in the podcast world, that means everything. And it means more than you know, not just to us, but in order to get us up in ratings. So that's what we are going to ask of you. But check in real quick, CEO. What's been going on with you?
Oh boy, we are more than halfway through the first quarter. Things are going amazing. Multiple projects. Really been focusing on my workouts, my water intake, and if I had to give a third, y'all know it's going to be my knowledge, my consumption, what I'm consuming. So that's what I've been up to so far.
That's cool. I think for me, y'all know I am on the real estate as a realtor side. And, the past few months has been a little cray-cray. We went from multiple offers to the interest rates going up to the market slowing down. And I even had to give myself pep talks. And I literally, what we're talking about today will speak to it, because we found ourselves back to a normalized market where, a home might actually sit on the market for more than a day. And even as seasoned realtors, I think that I had to give myself a come to Jesus talk. Like, this is normal, sis. Like, don't panic, don't be overwhelmed. And by continuing to do the activities, now we are back to just regular progression of market. So your girl's been busy with real estate, but I'm definitely not complaining, because that's something that I want. That's something that we want for our family.
Yeah, it's been eventful over here too. I was getting, I don't know, maybe 2 to 3 leads a week, November, December, and we're up to like 6 to 7. They all don't pan out, of course, but I'm just looking at just a lot more people coming out the woodwork trying to sell some properties and buy some properties. So it's pretty cool. Yeah,
no, I get that. On my standpoint, it seems like buyers are like, okay, these are what the rates are. And sellers are like, okay, we still can get some profit. So we are back in the swing of things. Yep. But let's get into our topic today about how in the world do you get anything you want out of life. And this question came up because I was listening to a podcast that I love, and she said, I think she was talking about how she was looking at a Twitter question on her Twitter feed, and the question on the Twitter feed was, what is the difference between broke, or if you could describe the difference between broke people and rich people in one word, what would that word be? And there were so many different comments on, as you can imagine, it's on Twitter. So some people were saying luck, some people were saying family, some people were saying like determination, things like that. And let me just back up and say, I know that some people might think, yes, they are lucky, or they did have families and fathers. And while that is the truth for some people's stories, I don't want anyone listening to us to feel like you cannot attain these things just because your familiar status looks different. Because at the end of the day, there are a lot of first generation millionaires and billionaires in our lifetime. So, luck, like if you would have thrown out the word luck, then I'm going to challenge your mindset. But what are some of the other words that you saw, Corey?
I mean, I think many people say the first one that I always hear is mindset. We definitely hear luck, will, drive, determination. And all of those are key, but I don't think it's the word that we know to be true in our success and many people's success in our lives.
Yeah, and actually, if you look at this question that was on Twitter, the word that we agree with came up most frequently, and that word was what?
Consistency.
That is like the key to getting anything that you want in life. Yeah. And sometimes, like, and Corey and I have really talked about this. Sometimes getting from point A to point B is so simple that it's hard, right? I recently read the book Atomic Habits, and Atomic Habits literally blew my mind. Yeah. And it blew my mind with the simplicity that it takes to build new habits to achieve your goals, because the problem is that most of us are just looking at the goal and we want to skip over the baby steps that get us there because they don't feel grandiose enough.
Can I pause you right there for 1 second?
Absolutely.
I like you said skip over, and I won't take credit for this, but I was watching Ice-T had an amazing interview. Congratulations, Ice-T. He just got his star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame last Friday.
Oh, really? I would have thought he would have had it already.
No, he just got it, but he was on consistency.
He stayed consistent until he got it.
But you were talking about, he was on Big Boy's Neighborhood. I was watching yesterday, and you were talking about skipping over something. And I quote, he said, "If you find yourself going in circles over and over, you're probably cutting corners." He did. I literally I paused the interview and wrote that down. Yeah. Because that's what you're saying. If you're finding yourself there, or you're trying to skip over a lot of steps to get to the goal, you're cutting a lot of corners. You just got to do the work. You have to go through that process, right? Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no. It makes complete sense. But like, let's just speak about it from just, just from different perspectives, because the thing is that I think that what we have to be consistent at is so small on a daily basis that when you're first starting, so I'll give you a great example. When you're first starting out, if you decide, you know what, I want to run a marathon, okay? A marathon is 26.2 miles, right? So if you are saying, you know what, I want to become a marathon runner, one might say, you may have one person who believes, you know what, okay, in order to become a marathon runner, let me first start walking for 30 minutes a day, right? But then you're going to have somebody else who's going to say, oh, that's going to take forever, right? I can't start walking for 30 minutes a day and getting into that rhythm. The first time I go out and I run, I need to run 6 miles, right? Because I got to get to 26.2. So if I can't go out and I can't do 6 miles, I'm not going to do it. But what ends up happening, that person who goes out to run 6 miles, if you've never done it before, yeah, you might make it that first 6 mile run, and you might make it 2 or 3 or 4. But the chances of you being consistent going from 0 to 6 miles so quickly is going to, more than likely, you're going to scale back down to 0, as opposed to, okay, maybe I'm gonna walk 30 minutes. Maybe I'm gonna walk 40 minutes. Okay, maybe part of my 40-minute walk, I'm gonna run half the time and walk half the time. And I'm gonna build up over time. But the challenge that we have in life, we live in a microwave society, where we want to put something in a microwave. We want to put our idea, we want to put our business plan, we want to put our marriage, we want to put our kids in a microwave. We want to hit the button, wait a minute, and ding, it's exactly the way we want it to be. And if it doesn't come out like that, we're not willing to put in the consistent effort and the consistent work. And that's the difference. That's the difference from those who have and those who have not.
Yeah. I think too, consistency is definitely the key word in the success of the people that we're talking about. But I also think that jumping around for different things, and we've talked about this before, when you are trying to identify your goal, make sure it's your goal. It's not somebody else's goal, or you see 2 or 3 people doing X and succeeding at that. So now you go and you do one thing for 6 months, that don't work. You go do something else for 60 days, that don't work. Like, that's the lack of consistency.
Yeah, and that's why it's easy not to be consistent if your buy-in for it wasn't your buy-in for it, right? How often do we look at, and I'm guilty of it. Like, I never forget, I was vegan because Oprah had like a vegan challenge on her, on her show once. And then I was like, you know what, maybe I should be vegan. And not to say that being vegan was bad or good, but I wasn't consistent because the compelling thing for me to even try it had nothing to do with me. I didn't have any buy-in in it. I literally was just looking at what people were doing on the Oprah Winfrey Show. Mm-hmm. And on the flip side, what ends up happening in our society is, you know, we social media, we YouTube, and we listen to books and podcasts, and all of these great, like sometimes all of this great information becomes numbing for us, right? You get so much great information that if every time you look up, if every time I look up, I'm looking at people who are selling multi-million dollar homes every day, me picking up the phone to sell my home at the price point that, you know, is my average price point, it just might not seem good enough, right? So that consistency piece, I think a good part of it is being clear on who you are, being clear on what you're called to do, and then being committed to take baby steps, get 1%. That's why I love Atomic Habits. He talks about getting 1% better every day, as opposed to all of us that, you know, if we don't drop 11 pounds in the first 3 days of our diet, then forget it, I'm gonna go back to eating burgers.
Yeah, and I mean, you need to make sure that the goal is real for you. Again, as you're speaking, I'm thinking about when I was younger, my parents used to take us to the dog races, and all of the dogs, you know, you had it's a bunny, right? It goes around the track, and as it comes, they say, "Here come Barney." They call the dog Barney for whatever reason, I don't know. And once once Barney got so far in front of the dogs, they would lift up all of the gates at the same time, right? So now you got 12 dogs chasing this bunny. They go around the track 2-3 times. Finally, you get to the end, and the one dog that wins, he goes and he attacks the bunny, right? Yeah. But he gets the bunny, and he quickly realized the bunny is not real, right? So y'all been chasing what you think was a real thing, but it was for somebody else, right? So the way I think about that is, make sure that you identifying that what you're chasing is for you, and that it's real. Because for a prime example, about 2 weeks ago, I had somebody really kind of get in my ear about multifamily. You know, single family is not sex. I'm like, well, that's not my lane.
Exactly.
Right. Eventually, I might get there, but because these 3 people you heard, not even are having success in multifamily, doesn't mean that I'm going to stop what's working to chase something that you're trying to make me think will work for me.
And even it could be working for them, right? Like you said, like it's not even negating to say it's not working, but it's understanding what makes sense for you. Yeah. So here's the question, because I want to leave the Eagles with like some really tangible like feedback, right? Because we can say, you know, with all authority, like, hey, the way to get anything you want in life is to be consistent. But let's be honest, it's hard as heck to be consistent.
It is
in a lot of areas. So talk to me about an area in your life, and I can share as well. Let's start off with one where, you know what, on today's date, still struggling with consistency in this area. And then I want to talk about another area where maybe you were once struggling and now you're not struggling to be consistent. And what was the change there, right? Like, I want to be honest with the people and say, yeah, we don't have it all figured out in every area.
If I have to if one just pops up in my head, that's a issue is me, my time I wake up.
Well, speak on.
But here's the thing. And I don't want to say I do it now, because I used to go to bed late. Right?
I don't know, because I'm asleep. I can't tell you.
I used to be a 2:30 in the morning, guys. Now I've kind of put myself on the curfew between like 11 and 12. I'm winding down, getting into bed, and I'm noticing that I get up early. I mean, if I go to bed earlier. Well, she gets up at 5:01, her feet's on the ground. That's still not my lifestyle, but I'm getting better.
Okay, so let's talk about that though, right? Because I think this is a good area for us to unpack. Because in this instance, you have a model of somebody who does it one way, right? And I think that sometimes your hang up is, I'm not gonna do it that way. Yeah. So if I'm not gonna do it that way, then I'm not about to be tripping on how I do it. Does that make sense? Like, as opposed to saying, okay, but what could getting uncomfortable so that I could grow better look like for me? Because I don't expect you to get up at 5.
Let me have a what we on? Podcast, YouTube, everywhere. Friday, my therapist told me, we were talking about this subject. And and how it's a sore spot in our marriage.
Why is it a sore? Should we unpack for the people why it's a sore spot?
We don't have to go deep. I'm going back to my therapy session, and we on Zoom, and I'm complaining about the time I'm getting up and why it's halfway okay, right? 51:49.
Yeah.
And he says, when you first started these sessions with me, and he's going back to like session 2.
His notes, right.
I'm reading that you wanted to be more of a morning person. So, and it also says, and I quote, I need to get more like Rosemary in this area. And I said, really, dude? This is what I'm paying you for? So, yeah, okay. I'm being honest there.
You are being honest, and I'm happy that we're having this conversation because it's not really, I just want to back it up and say, it's not about being like me, right?
Yeah.
But what we know is that when you go to bed and you have an opportunity to start your day earlier, I don't care who it is, right? If my kid is dragging out of bed, then he's going to have a tough day at school, right? So it's nothing to hurt us. But what happens is, sometimes we have these good, well-intentioned thoughts, but then when we fall into our habits and we fall into what's familiar and what's comfortable, that's when it's hard to stay consistent with the habits that we know are going to create for us the version of ourselves that we want to be. Okay, so now you take it back.
Well, I'm done beating up on myself about my therapy.
But see, even the way you're talking about it, it's not beating up on yourself.
I'm cracking the joke. Okay. The point that I'm making is what I got out of it was seriously the importance, and you hear like you've been hearing it since 8th grade. The importance of writing stuff down and reviewing them every day.
Yeah.
Right? Because if I had these 10 things, which ironically, that morning, and I read them to him on the right side of my planner, I had 8 things that I wanted to do for myself that day. Whether it was floss my teeth, whether it was put in some white strips, whether it was go to the gym, sit in the sauna. I can't remember all of them. Do my breath work. Whatever those 8 things were. At 2 p.m. when I was on the phone with him, I was 6 for 8 in on myself. The only reason the gym and the sauna wasn't scratched off is because I was in the gym and the sauna, right? But I was taking accountability of the things that I wanted to happen. So that's what he was saying. No different than me waking up at whatever time it is I want to wake up. Make sure you write that down or set that alarm and stick to it, right? Yeah. So that's the consistent. And we're not talking. All of the consistent stuff is not work and money related.
No, I think that it's not work and money related, but it can be consistency in any area.
Yeah, like I'm speaking lifestyle.
Yeah, anything that you want to, but here's the thing though, they all are intertwined, right? The more consistent you are with taking care of your body, your breath work, getting up early, going to bed at night, reducing your screen time, like that. I just want to be clear to you, me, and everyone watching. These small things that don't seem like they make a big difference. Yeah. Trust me, when you think about somebody like Magic Johnson, when you think about somebody who is like, doing things on a high level, that's why I think you said that, like, you don't really see many overweight millionaires, right? Right. Because the statistic is very low for people who are, millionaires, working millionaires, and are overweight, because the mindset around them, they value their bodies, right? So the thing that I want to bring up, and I really appreciate you talking about your morning routine, and how you are growing to that, is because the problem that most, and I just read this in the 12-week year, it's really that split decision in a second. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So it's that. So in your case, and I'm gonna talk about my garbage here in a second, because I ain't gonna leave my man hanging out here. But in your case, it's when the alarm goes off. You have a decision right then and there to say, and I'm not even going to say, am I going to win today, right? But you have a decision right then and there to say, am I going to get up right now? Or am I going to, because yes, getting the pain of getting up, I might feel groggy, I might feel X, Y, and Z, but I love Jess Sims says this on Peloton. She said the hardest part of your workout is showing up. Yeah. Check done, you're here. So when in that split decision, okay, alarm goes off. Am I going to choose to silence the alarm, and now I'm making, because the part about not being consistent is now we're making excuses to ourselves all day. Right. Now we are guilting, like before anybody else notices what we did or didn't do, we are guilting ourselves, you know, and digging ourselves out of that guilt hole. Or are you going to decide, you know what, no matter how painful it is in the moment, I'm going to be consistent, and then one day it won't be as painful. Well,
let me tell you what we figured out in my session, and then I'll let you go to your point. Where we figured out, because I explained to him pretty much my routine, whether, you know, it was going to bed later than I should be, putting my son on the bus at 6:50, and then laying back down for an hour and a half.
He's like, why lay back down?
Right. That was the part that we needed to eliminate. Right. Yeah. Because if you're getting up at 6:30, 6:40, you're up. You've already won that battle. Yeah. Right.
So you got him on the decision about getting back in the bed.
Exactly.
So side note about Corey, I'm gonna say this to you though.
I feel like I'm in therapy.
No, well, a little bit, baby. The funniest part about Corey, because most people, like most of us, when we up, right? Corey can get up, go to the bus stop in the rain, 30 degrees, get Cameron to the bus stop, come back in the bed, and will be
snuggled up under that cover.
Not like, just snoring in about 36 seconds. I'm like, I ain't never seen nobody who could do that. That actually is a gift.
It's a skill. It's a skill.
But to his point, it's that quick decision. Okay, put my stuff out there. So for me, I can't tell you how last week, I mean, this is a good thing. Last week, I was like, I almost got in my car to go to the gas station and get some Doritos. I wanted junk food. I just wanted something to snack on. You know, I didn't give a doggone about no vacation, no 2 pieces. Like, I wanted something to snack on. But you know what? In this instance, and I'm definitely not perfect, and you know this, I had at the grocery store, I had the decision, in that split decision, are you going to buy some stuff? Like, I could lie to myself, be like, oh, I'm buying these Doritos for the kids. Right. You know, I've recently started buying snacks that I won't eat. Like, it's certain things that I'm just not going to eat no Cheez-Its, right? But Doritos, Twizzlers, things like that. But if I'm in a moment of weakness in the grocery store, or we on our way home and you stop in the gas station and you look at me and say, do you want something? Right. You know what I'm saying? In that split second decision, that's going to determine whether or not I'm consistent towards my health goals, right? And that's a battle that I'm still fighting, right? But then on the flip side, I have shared with you, we always bring up the difference in my morning routine versus yours. I always bring up to you, like, Corey, I am not like you. I'm naturally not a morning person. Right. I am just consistent with getting up early.
Right. And going to bed.
Yeah. And going to bed. And I think the thing is, I was telling my team this the other day. Like, some nights when it's time for me to go to bed, I literally go through a ritual where I am putting, like, have you ever tried to put a stubborn baby to sleep, don't want to go to sleep? That's how I feel about myself. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm literally like, I want to watch TV. I want to get on social media. And in my mind, it's like, no, you need to go to bed. You need to go to bed. The same way I would treat a toddler who I know, and I'm not putting my toddler to bed because I don't want to see them be great. I'm putting them to bed because I know that they need rest so that they can function and be better tomorrow. Yeah. And that's the exact same way that I have to look at myself in my life in terms of being consistent. Okay.
I actually like that analogy. Okay, so let me give an example. Let's talk about somebody that's broke. And
they like, I didn't know I was broke.
They didn't realize they was broke.
I didn't realize why.
Let me help you out. So we're gonna reverse engineer. We're gonna do 2 things. We're gonna pick one thing that you can do every single day to help you get out of that situation.
Right.
Okay. The second thing is you always start with the end in mind. And what that means is it's not how well you're doing. It's how long you're doing well. Right?
Yeah.
It's the longevity
of that.
That's what you need to concentrate on. And if you understand that it's how long you're doing well, then all of your habits and the Ed Milet, the power of one more, right? Yeah. The 1% that you're talking about, they'll start to compound.
Yeah.
And once they compound for 3, 6, 9, 12 months, naturally you're going to be on the gift receiving end of that.
No, I love that. So let's give some really tangible ways of how that can happen. I'm going to give one in terms of finances and one in terms of achieving something.
Okay.
So with consistency, like, how long are you going to do this well? So let's just say with finances, how about, me and you have talked about this. The goal right now is to eliminate your unconscious spending, right? So because of that, one small consistent behavior that you will have is every day before I go to work, I'm going to have a plan for what lunch is. Yeah. You know what I mean? And understand what I'm saying. I'm not saying pack your lunch every day, because for somebody who ain't packed lunch in 50 years, that's not gonna happen. That's not, gonna happen.
Well, it's definitely not gonna be consistent.
It's not gonna be consistent. But remember, I said unconscious spending. So not just we at 11:45 and somebody say, hey, I'm ordering Torchies and you $40 in tacos in, but decide that morning, you know what? Actually, I have leftovers. I'm going to pack my leftovers and take them with me. Or you decide that morning, hey, it's Friday. They have the sub sandwiches in the cafe on Friday. I'm going to make sure I go get that. Right. So just consciously deciding before your day begins. And I'm saying lunch, but it could be anything. Decide when your workout's going to be. The night before, decide what time you're going to wake up. What is one thing you can do per day to move the needle forward on what you want? Last year, I wrote a whole book, right? I wrote that book 25 minutes at a time, right? The book was about my mama. The book was really me walking through the grief process. So I knew that I had to get it out of me, but I knew that I couldn't say, I'm going to go for a retreat and write all weekend. Can't do that. But what could I commit to? I could commit to waking up, having my quiet time, and setting my timer for 25 minutes and writing for 25 minutes, right? And what will happen is that consistent behavior of writing for 25 minutes, some days 25 minutes turned into an hour, right? But all I committed to being consistent at was doing it in 25 minutes. And I wrote a whole book, and you know what I mean? And it probably took me 4 months, but I did it 25 minutes at a time. And previously I probably would have looked at that and said, that's not enough. Like you need to be deep. No, I carved off just a little bit of time. So could your 25 minutes be workout? Could your 25 minutes be outlining stuff for your business? Could your 25 minutes be shooting videos for your course? Whatever it is you want to get, what is a small amount of time that you can block out each day and commit that I am going to do that come hell or high water, right? It's just it's big enough amount of time, or the consistency over time is going to compound where it's going to make a big difference, but it's a small enough commitment in the moment where I can commit to doing it consistently.
Yeah, I really like that. That almost like a starting point, right?
Yeah,
like a slingshot. Let it go and just, it puts you there, right? You're already in the rhythm, in the motion of getting to where you're trying to go. So that's a really good piece of advice.
So most of what we're talking about right now, consistency, all of these things really come down to your habits and what habits we're going to commit to. And Eagles, remember, we have, in case you haven't picked it up, Corey and I have a free download for you of the 5 habits that all entrepreneurs need to have. You can check that out at eagletalkpodcast.com
/5 habits. Right.
Yes, you can check that out there. And again, you can have anything you want in life. We just have to be what?
Consistent.
We just have to be consistent.
I like it. Yep. Well, thank y'all. Hope this starts your consistency journey and that this information was good. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the podcast. We are on all platforms, plus YouTube. And anything else?
Nope. That's it, y'all. We will see you next week.
See y'all.
Oh, with a very special guest. I'm so excited.
Bye, y'all.
Bye, Eagles.